I've had the Ally for about a week now, and I gotta say, this thing is sick.
Let me take a little moment to find a way to say what is on my mind. Yeah.
Now, to be very clear, this is not a review unit. I did not get it for free, and I spent my cold hard cash on this. Got it from some guy in a back alley in the Philippines, and here we are. Just kidding, got it somewhere online. Although Asus should be stoked that I'm stoked enough to make a hype video for their product next time, Asus. Maybe when I get my sub count up. And just a heads up, I'm not a numbers guy or a spec guy. I generally understand computer specs, but I'm not here to talk about that. I have blown through so many handhelds in the last 3 years. Your Ioneos, Odin, GPD products. So take my opinion for what it is. Now, a lot of people have been making comments about the battery life being garbage. So far, I've noticed that I'm usually needing to charge this thing after draining it from an intense RuneScape sesh. However, I don't ever play more than 45 minutes to an hour. I'm a dad, I'm a husband, now I gotta be ready to rock and roll at any given moment. Put this bad boy to sleep, then come back to it when I can. For all my dads, you know what I'm talking about. But for you hardcore gamers, the battery life might be very disappointing, and I get it. You won't be able to bring this on a long trip, commute to school or work, and if that's going to be a problem or a deal breaker, I get it. Battery life is important to some people. The good news is the charging is pretty fast. I can fully charge in about an hour and a half with the included 65-watt charger. In comparison to other handhelds I've had, this charge is pretty damn fast. For me, I think it's been more of a commitment to sit down at the couch, play on the console, on the TV, and then have to go back and forth, which is pretty sweet. I can put it down on the couch, I can put it in the loft, I can put it in the bedroom, and hey, it's accessible. Plus, I'm very fortunate enough to work from home, so it's pretty sweet that I can sit at my desk, play for a little bit here and there, go back to work, so on and so forth. Some of you guys have brought up concerns about heat, and honestly, even after playing for close to maybe an hour on maxed out settings, I don't feel the heat at all. The exhausts shoot straight up, and I don't feel the heat on my hands at all. Maybe if you're holding it at a different angle, but in my most natural position, I've been cool as a cucumber. Armory Crate's cool, and I personally don't use it, but the quick menu settings definitely come in handy, and you can customize it to your liking. Just a note, I am not a Linux super user, so coming from the Steam Deck, this has been a joy and pleasure to use. I was delighted to be in familiar territory. I know where to go. I know how to navigate through the OS and install whatever I want. None of these workarounds just to get, one of your favorite games to work on the device. It's been quite nice, actually. As far as storage goes, it comes with 512 gigs, and fortunately, it's pretty easy to open up and swap the drives. I upgraded to a 1 terabyte NVMe drive, and also threw in this 512 gigabyte micro SD, so you can upgrade storage to your heart's content. Now, for the feel of the device. In comparison to other Windows handhelds, this one feels really light. It's not a dense brick like the Ioneo 2 or the Next. Those were bricks for sure. My hands are pretty small. Maybe average? I don't know, but here's a size comparison. The plastic doesn't feel cheap at all, and I can really appreciate the textures on the front, these little lines over here, and especially on the back. Very similar to an Xbox Series controller. It has a little texture and grip, feels quite nice. On the back side, I can reach the buttons with ease, or the paddles, whatever you want to call these. I hardly use them, and I just map them to some Windows navigation stuff for quick access, but it's nice to see that my middle fingers land on it pretty perfectly. Now, if you have much larger hands, I can see that being a problem, and this thing might feel uncomfortable. Some people refer to the feel of the buttons as clicky, but my definition of clicky would be like Joy-Con buttons or mechanical Switch-like buttons, like that Wolverine controller from Razer. That feels like a click to me. Like when I think click, I think mouse click. Instead, I would say that they're moderately soft, mushy, softer than an Xbox for sure, and similar to a PS5 membrane. The buttons are somewhat flat, a lot less travel than, let's say, an Xbox controller, but I really do like the feel of them. For the analog sticks, I keep telling everybody the same thing. They feel very light. Not a whole lot of resistance, but responsive. If I were to compare these to, let's say, a Gully Kit Hall sensor stick, they have that sort of light feeling. You know, not a lot of resistance, not so much tension in the spring or whatever mechanism is in those controllers. And I guess the one thing that throws me off is they're a little bit more concave than I'd like them to be. I actually prefer dome style thumbsticks, but I actually got used to these after a few days and wasn't too big of a deal. Now, I'm not a huge fighting game person or platform gamer, but I really do like the feel of this D-pad. The rubber membrane doesn't move around a whole lot, and it's pretty firm. Each press, each time I mash on this thing, it feels really consistent. It's definitely along the lines of that definition of mushy or soft like I was saying earlier, not clicky like an Xbox Series controller. That's clicky. Bumpers and triggers are meh. I don't have much to say about them. They're fine. The bumpers have a very firm click, and triggers have a moderate level of resistance. Again, I'd say right in between PS5 controller and Xbox controllers. I don't know, man. Call it placebo, but the 120 Hz has me thinking that everything looks like butter. I mean, I'm the type of person who even appreciates my mouse cursor or even like menus moving around and navigating through the operating system. I can really appreciate that if it just looks really smooth and everything's gliding along. One of the biggest reasons I got rid of the Steam Deck was that the colors just looked really washed out. I mean, to the point where I just didn't want to touch it or play it. And I think this was before people started posting videos like, hey, you can increase the saturation on your Steam Deck, make it look even better, and the videos look great. But I gave up on the Steam Deck way too early, I guess, so maybe I missed out. But I will have to say, the screen on this thing is awesome. Anyways, in Armory Crate, you can play around with different color profiles. I just leave mine on Vivid. That's how I personally like it. What I usually like the most is I want my colors to pop. And so I just leave it on this setting for pretty much everything. As far as performance goes, I'm not going to go over numbers with you guys, so I hope that the gameplay vids have been helpful. Feel free to keep sending requests in the comments, and I'll get to them as soon as I can. You know, it's been pretty cool because a lot of these games I've never even played before, so it's been nice to just tinker around and play some genres that I don't really usually play, I guess. But yeah, submit them and I'll try to get them out in the next couple weeks. Now, is this thing for you? I don't know. I think it's awesome that Best Buy has a 14-day return policy, so I strongly encourage you, if you're on the fence about it, just pick one up and try it out for 14 days. Am I keeping mind? Hell yeah. You know, in comparison to all of the other handhelds I've had, this is one that I have truly felt like was a comfortable experience, and like I'm actually going to have a lot of fun hours playing on this thing versus tinkering around with settings and making sure that it all works. So yeah, I'm keeping it. Thanks so much for watching, guys. This is my very first YouTube video, so it was a lot of fun to make. If you think I should make more content, go ahead, like, comment, and subscribe. Later.